Hi boys and girls, I want to tell you a story about a girl named Lucinda who got invited to her best friend Lucy's birthday party. Lucinda was so excited. She had on her best shoes, her best skirt, her best shirt, and her mom had done up her hair. And her daddy was going to take her to the party. She was ready to go. She had her present for Lucy and she was all set. They got in the car and drove all the way to Lucy's house. As they parked and got out of the car, her daddy said, "Lucinda, guess what? You know that Lucy loves riddles and games. She made up a riddle that she mailed to our house, and apparently she wants you to figure it out as you come into the party. That's the way to get in." Lucinda says, "Oh, really? Well, let's see the riddle." So he handed it over, and it was kind of mysterious. It said, "Go to step number 2, then move to the step just after, and the step just before number 2. There were 4 words that were underlined: just after and just before. These are words that Lucinda didn't really know, but she was going to figure it out with the help of her dad. Lucinda thought, what could this mean? Daddy, what do you think? He said, "Well, Lucinda, let's go to the house and figure it out together." So they did. They walked all the way up to the front door of Lucy's house. And there, on the front steps, sure enough, was printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, Lucinda pulled out the note again. She looked at it. What did it say? It says, "Go to step number 2, then move to the step just after and the step just before number 2. So first, Lucinda went up to step number 2. She stood there proudly and turned to her daddy. "Okay, well, here's the first step. So number 2, so I need to go to the step just after. What would the step just after be?" She looked at 3 and 1. Her daddy said, "Lucinda, I think the step just after 2 would be 3, because 3 is just after 2. So she smiled and stepped up onto 3. Now there's one more part of the instructions. It says, and then the step just before number 2. She looked up at step 4. She looked all the way down at step 1. She said, "Daddy, what do you think it would be? What would be just before number 2? And he said, "Well, what comes just before 2? She said, "Number 1 comes first. It's just before 2. So he says, "Well, step on that one." So she stepped down to 2 and stayed on 1. Just then, the front door opened and she heard party music coming from the inside. It was her friend Lucy. She'd been watching her the whole time. "Lucinda, I'm so glad you made it." Lucinda said, "Lucy, that was a crazy riddle. Hey, but at least now I know what just after and just before means. Just after 2 is 3, and just before 2 is 1. And so just after 4 would be 5, and just before 4 would be 3. And Lucy says, "Yeah, you got it. Come on in." So they went inside, and Lucinda went in with her daddy. They had a great time, and that is our story today. Thank you for joining me, boys and girls.